That breaking news, a woman and man are dead following a shooting last night in the Jones Valley neighborhood. Kayla Warren and Brian Adams shot just after 8 p.m. Warren passed away shortly after the shooting. Adams died earlier this afternoon. Police are still looking for the shooter.
I'm 205 Kway. I'm straight out of Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I rap like a motherfucker and I sing a little bit, so yeah, that's pretty much it. About 3 years publicly, but I've been making music for years, since I was probably like 11.
A young mother, a rising rap star. On one summer evening, Kayla Alexandria Warren, known to her growing fan base as 205 Kway, stood on the front porch of a friend's house, dreaming of a future shaped by music and a cosmetology career. In the blink of an eye, as laughter faded into the night, she was struck by bullets. Racing to UAB hospital, her life ended at 10:54 p.m. And by the next day, a friend, 20-year-old Brian Adams, succumbed to his wounds. 8 months passed before arrests were made, but by June 2025, all charges against the two men accused, Jamil Carrillo Jemison and Ladre Demond Todd Green, had been dropped. The case remains unsolved, and no one is behind bars. She was a beloved local rapper. Why was she? So who really killed Kayla Warren, and why is no one behind bars? Kayla Alexandria Warren grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, a city with deep roots, tight neighborhoods, and a music scene that's as competitive as it is inspiring. To her family and close friends, she was just Kayla. But online, and to a growing base of fans, she was 205 Kway, a name she picked herself, carrying Birmingham's area code like a badge of honor. It wasn't just a stage name. It was a promise that no matter where her career took her, she'd represent where she came from. From a young age, Kayla had two loves that seemed worlds apart, but both gave her a sense of purpose. The first was beauty. She could spend hours braiding, curling, and styling, and she wasn't shy about telling people she wanted to open her own salon one day. She had enrolled at the Midfield School of Cosmetology, working toward the certificate that would make that dream possible. The second love was music, and when Kayla rapped, there was no mistaking that she had something to say. Her lyrics told stories about life in Birmingham, about hard times, about hope. She didn't rap to chase clout. She rapped because it was in her. People close to her said she had this rare mix of drive and humility. She was proud of her art, but she was always working to make it better. She juggled it all while raising her young daughter, the center of her world. Every decision she made was with her little girl in mind. Whether it was late-night studio sessions or studying for her cosmetology classes, Kayla was building a future for both of them. Friends say she was the kind of person who could light up a room just by walking in. She had that balance of grit and warmth, the type of energy that made you believe she was going places. By the summer of 2024, her life was busy, but it was heading in the right direction. Music was picking up, school was on track, and for the first time, the future she dreamed about didn't seem far away. It was August in Birmingham, the kind of thick, humid heat that makes the air feel heavy even after the sun goes down. In neighborhoods like this one, on the southwest side of the city, life slows in the evening. Kids call it a night, the smell of barbecue still lingers in the air, and most of the action happens on porches. Neighbors wave at each other, conversations stretch past dusk, and music drifts from open windows. The 700 block of 30th Street Southwest was no different. A quiet stretch in the Germania Park area, modest single-story homes, many with chain-link fences and porches just big enough for a couple of chairs. It's the kind of place where you know the sound of your neighbor's car door, where faces are familiar, even if names aren't. On the evening of August 21st, 2024, Kayla Warren, known in the music world as 205 Kway, was on that porch. She wasn't alone. A few friends were with her, swapping stories, laughing, talking about music and plans for the weekend. It was a normal, easy night, the kind that doesn't usually make the news. Then came the sound that cuts through every neighborhood conversation. Sharp cracks, fast, unmistakable. Gunfire. Multiple shots fired toward the house. When officers from Birmingham's West Precinct arrived, they found Kayla on the porch, hit by the gunfire. Another person had been shot as well. Both were rushed to UAB Hospital. Just before 11 that night, the news no one wanted came. Kayla Warren had died from her injuries. The porch where she stood, the same place where just minutes earlier she'd been laughing with friends, was now marked off with crime scene tape.
That breaking news, a woman and man are dead following a shooting last night in the Jones Valley neighborhood. Kayla Warren and Brian Adams shot just after 8 p.m. Warren passed away shortly after the shooting. Adams died earlier this afternoon. Police are still looking for the shooter.
The glow of police lights reflecting off nearby cars. The community's familiar gathering spot had become the scene of a homicide investigation. And by the next morning, everyone on 30th Street Southwest had the same questions. Who would want Kayla dead, and why?
August 21st, 2024. It was a warm Wednesday evening on Birmingham's west side. The kind of night when neighbors sit outside, porch lights spill into the street, and conversations carry past the front yard. Kayla Alexandria Warren, known to her fans as 205 Kway, was at a friend's home on the 700 block of 30th Street Southwest. She wasn't alone. Brian Adams, 20 years old, was there too, along with a few others. They were talking, listening to music, just passing time. For Kayla, it was a rare pause between working on her music and raising her young daughter. The move was casual, familiar. Nobody could have guessed what would happen next. Sometime after 8 p.m., the calm broke. Gunfire erupted outside, shattering the night. Bullets tore through the air toward the porch. Kayla was hit. Officers arrived to find her critically wounded in the same spot where moments earlier she'd been laughing. She was rushed to UAB Hospital, but less than 3 hours later, she was pronounced dead at 10:54 p.m. Brian had also been shot. Friends got him to a hospital, and he was later transferred to UAB. He died the next day. One of the stray bullets entered a nearby home, narrowly missing a 66-year-old woman. In just seconds, a quiet summer night had turned into a crime scene. And from that moment forward, the question hung heavy over the block. Who pulled the trigger? And why? On an ordinary porch, on an ordinary evening, were two lives snuffed out so suddenly. In the minutes after the gunfire, 30th Street Southwest looked like a war zone. Police cruisers lined the narrow street. Their flashing blue lights cut through the dark summer air, illuminating scattered shell casings and the faces of neighbors who stood frozen in disbelief. Some clutched their phones, still on the line with 911 dispatchers. Others held their children close, afraid to let them step past the doorway. Birmingham Fire and Rescue loaded Kayla Warren on a stretcher. Witnesses say she was still breathing when the ambulance pulled away, speeding toward UAB Hospital. Officers worked quickly to cordon off the scene, questioning anyone who might have seen the shooter or shooters. While inside the trauma unit, doctors fought to keep her alive. At 10:54 p.m., word came down. Kayla Alexandria Warren, 25 years old, pronounced dead. Across town, Brian Adams was also in a fight for his life. Transported first to Princeton Baptist Medical Center and then transferred to UAB, where he too would succumb to his injuries the following day. Back on 30th Street, the shock was palpable. Neighbors spoke in hushed voices, as if saying the words out loud might make them more real. A young mother, a promising rapper, and a friend, both gone within hours. Crime scene tape fluttered in the warm night air as investigators marked bullet holes in cars, in windows, even in the siding of homes that had nothing to do with the gathering. For those who lived there, this was more than another headline. It was a reminder that even in a tight-knit neighborhood, life could change in the space of a single trigger pull. From the very start, detectives made one thing clear. This was no random drive-by. Whoever pulled the trigger that night came with a purpose. The porch where Kayla Warren and Brian Adams had been standing was not hit by chance.
Behind closed doors, the talk turned to motive. Was it a dispute that had been simmering for months? A retaliation for some earlier confrontation? Or was it the most tragic possibility of all, a case of mistaken target where the intended victim was never even there? On the block, theories spread faster than facts. Social media lit up with names, accusations, and questions. But in the official reports, there were no suspects, no arrests, no charges. Just a list of evidence and a growing stack of unanswered questions. Kayla's family begged for answers. Friends demanded justice. And neighbors, already wary of speaking to police, now feared the person responsible could still be walking their streets. In Birmingham, people know what happens when cases like this fade from the headlines. They disappear for good. And with each passing day, the danger of that reality grew. If we don't push these stories into the public eye, the killers stay hidden. Subscribing isn't just clicking a button. It's refusing to let them get away with it. And if you're against that, explain why below. It took 8 long months, but in April of 2025, Birmingham police made a move that gave the community its first real glimmer of hope. 2 men, 23-year-old Jamil Carrillo Jemison and 22-year-old Ladre Damon Todd Green, were taken into custody. Both were charged in connection with the August 2024 shooting that killed Kayla Warren and Brian Adams. When the news broke, the reaction was immediate. Friends and family flooded social media with the word "finally." Finally, it looked like the case was moving forward. Finally, the families of Kayla and Brian might get their day in court. The arrests felt like a turning point. For months, the streets had been buzzing with rumors and speculation. Now there were names, faces, charges, and for the first time since that summer night, it seemed like justice was more than just a word on a flyer. Finally, justice seemed to be on its way. Or so everyone thought. 2 months later, in June 2025, everything unraveled. In a packed courtroom, a Jefferson County judge announced that the charges against both men were being dismissed. The reason? Prosecutors said there simply wasn't enough evidence to move forward. Just like that, the 2 accused men walked out of the courthouse as free men. No trial, no jury, no convictions. For Kayla's loved ones, it was a gut punch they never saw coming. For the community, it was a warning. The person who fired those shots on the porch that summer night was still out there, and now no one was being held accountable. Fear rippled through the neighborhood. People lowered their voices when the case came up. Some refused to speak at all. And just like that August night, silence became the loudest sound on the block. The person who pulled the trigger could still be walking past you on the street. If you think that's fine, scroll on. If not, hit subscribe so these names stay in the spotlight. As of now, the murders of Kayla Warren and Brian Adams remain unsolved. No arrests, no convictions, no clear answers. Birmingham police say the investigation is still active, but updates are few and far between. The reality is they're facing the same hurdles that stall so many cases like this. Witnesses who are reluctant to speak, evidence that's hard to lock down, and a community caught between grief and fear. Detectives believe someone knows exactly who fired those shots on the porch that summer night. But fear of retaliation runs deep here. And for some, the risk of talking feels greater than the weight of silence. Without a murder weapon recovered, without usable fingerprints or clear surveillance footage, they're left with leads that fade faster than they can chase them. And the longer the trail grows cold, the harder it becomes to bring it back to life. For Kayla's young daughter, for Brian's family, and for neighbors who still remember the sound of those gunshots, each day without justice is another reminder. The person who pulled the trigger could still be out there, maybe even walking the same streets. For Kayla Warren's little girl,
The world changed forever on that August night in 2024. She's growing up without the mother who once tucked her in, packed her school lunches, and stood in the crowd at every school event with a proud smile. Those everyday moments, bedtime stories, hair braiding before picture day, Sunday mornings in the kitchen, are now gone. All she has are photographs, family stories, and the voices of people who knew her mom best. Kayla's friends describe her as a fighter, ambitious, driven, and always hustling towards something bigger. Whether she was behind the mic as Kway or working toward her cosmetology goals, she never did anything halfway. She had this way of making people feel like they could win too, like success was possible if you just kept going. But now, in the neighborhood where she lost her life, there's a different kind of energy. The porch on 30th Street Southwest, once a spot for laughter, music, and neighbors gathering, now carries a heavy stillness. People still walk by, but they don't stop. They don't linger. And every so often, someone will glance at that spot and then quickly look away. It's as if speaking about it out loud will somehow make the pain worse. For her family, every holiday, every birthday, every milestone without Kayla is another reminder that justice hasn't been served. And for her community, it's a reminder that the violence in their own backyard can steal not just lives, but the future that could have been. Kway can't fight for herself anymore. If you won't subscribe to keep her story alive, at least have the courage to comment why. And so, the questions hang in the air, unanswered. Did investigators have the wrong people in custody all along? Was Kayla targeted that night, or was she caught up in someone else's fight? If it wasn't random, what was the motive, and who actually pulled the trigger? Most troubling of all, could the killer still be out there, blending in, walking past people on the street, maybe even waving to neighbors who have no idea what they've done? Until those questions are answered, Kayla's story isn't just a case file. It's a shadow over a family still grieving, a neighborhood still hurting, and a city still waiting for the truth. Kayla Warren's laughter is gone from the streets of Birmingham. Her presence is missing from family gatherings. But her voice, her real voice, still lives on in the tracks that she recorded as Kway. For those who knew her, listening to her music now feels different. It's not just entertainment, it's a reminder of a dream that ended too soon. And yet, her case sits cold. No convictions, no closure, just silence. So I'm asking you, do you think the police let the real killer slip away? Or was there never enough evidence to charge anyone in the first place? Drop your theory in the comments. I don't just read headlines. I spend hours digging, fact-checking, and piecing together these stories so victims aren't forgotten. Every late night, every record I comb through, it's for cases like Kayla's. But here's the truth. If you don't subscribe, the algorithm buries these videos. The killers stay hidden. The families keep waiting. If you're okay with that, you can scroll on. But if you're not, if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button right now. And if you still won't subscribe, then at least tell me why in the comments. Because if you can't stand up for Kayla, I want to hear your reason.